Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news, a daily briefing on stand-up comedy, comedians, and the comedy industry. A sentence the algorithm loves. SNL is coming to the UK this Saturday. Your first host on SNL UK will be Tina Fey. Pretty good choice. Some people are surprised they went with an American host, but I don't think you can argue that Tina Fey doesn't know how to do SNL. So, sometimes the correct move is go right down the middle, and why goof around? First impressions make a big deal. Tina Fey, good at SNL, knows how to host. Sure, Tina Fey, why not? Musical guests, English band Wet Leg. Season 1 is only 6 episodes. We know that on March 28th, Jamie Dornan will host. April 4th, Riz Ahmed, and we're going to talk about him later, will host. Dornan will be joined by musical guest Wolf Alice, and Casian will be on the Riz Ahmed show. SNL UK will air at 10 p.m. local time on Sky One and the streaming service known as Now. If you're in the U.S. and you want to watch it, you have to wait until the next day. That's fine. I watch SNL on Sunday anyway. It'll be on Peacock in the U.S. SNL UK episodes are 75 minutes. Interesting number. The Guardian wrote, how could this be anything other than funny? They profiled the behind the scenes. Maybe someday someone will make a movie of all this. The Guardian tells us for the past 4 weeks, 11 performers and 20 writers have been spending every weekday together in this very building, which apparently is a boardroom in West London's television centre. They've been hashing out premises for skits. Do we like the word skits? I think we like the word sketches over here more than skits. Workshopping each other's material and finding the alchemy. Writer Gran Maguire says since lockdown, it feels like British comedy television has been slowly atrophying. A huge opportunity like this is so exciting. The Guardian tells us the SNL model seems unthinkably luxurious on that side of the pond, where sitcoms are often written by just one person and writer room jobs are pretty much non-existent. Is my delivery very Colin Jost today? Every time I'm finishing a phrase, I feel like I'm putting a Colin Jost spin on it, and I'm not trying to do that. The Guardian says when they ask cast member Al Nash how he's getting in the zone, he thuds a copy of Live from New York, Tom Shales and James Andrew Miller's 800-page oral history of SNL, down on the table, and he says, some of us like to do our research. The follow-up question was, what insight have you gained? The answer, I actually haven't started reading it yet. That's hilarious. Showrunner James Longman says Lorne Michaels keeps saying things to me like, just get it on air. How do they choose the cast? He says, we were looking for the funniest people. We didn't go in for name recognition. The cast ranged from 26 to age 36. There was not an age limit. One element being carried over from the U.S.'s Weekend Update. Good thing Tina Fey's there this weekend. I'm looking forward to watching that one. Now, meanwhile, in the United States of America, we have our own Saturday Night Live. It airs on Saturday nights live at 11:30. And on the most recent episode, Marcello Hernandez busted out his Sebastian Maniscalco impression again. Sebastian is campaigning hard to get booked on SNL, man. He posted on Twitter, I've been on SNL twice now, which sounds impressive until I tell you neither time was as the host. At this point, Harry Styles and Marcello Hernandez have locked more rehearsal time as me than I have. Both of them were hilarious and absolutely nailed it. Maybe the third time I come in and do it as myself. Campaign. A lot of people really liked this impression that Marcello Hernandez does. As I said in the past, he does one thing and he does one thing well, and arguably he does two things. But here, let's listen to it.
I'll talk about the case, Your Honor. Listen to me. For my client to get out of that store, he would have had to juke out a security guard. Then they got the lasers everywhere, so my client would have had to Tom Cruise that. Okay? And then they got the sensors. You know about the sensors, Your Honor? They're about this tall, the sensors. They tell you you got something you're not supposed to have. So my client would have had to grab the shoes and the belt and the jacket and hold it above his head and go like that. So either my client is not guilty or he belongs in the Olympics. The defense rests.
I mean, it's okay. Now, I'm only playing the audio, so you're not getting the physical aspects. He does it very, very animated, which I'm not entirely sure where that's coming from. It's a good character, but it's not like the most amazing impression. And if you're like, Johnny Mac, you just don't find Marcello Hernandez funny. You're not being fair. Well, you might be right, but as evidence that the impression is nothing special, let me present to you Harry Styles.
This is crazy. You're all just captivated by the way Sebastian Maniscalco is talking. Like, What if I talk like that? Your Honor, this guy took the clothes and he walked right out of the store. We got the security footage. After. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I ask, why would he do that?
Moving on, now if you want to hear a really good impression, Jeremy Colhane broke out a Tucker Carlson impression on Weekend Update, and it was fantastic. Let's listen.
Let's all go to the movies. Huh? Really? Yes. Why don't we grab some popcorn and watch American culture collapse? What are we doing? What's going on?
All right, coming in hot. Well, how do you feel about this year's nominees?
Where to even begin? Oh, I know. Why don't we talk about Sinners? That's right, Sinners. Because, of course, leftist woke America's favorite movie this year is about sinning. Huh? Really? Why does that not surprise me? No, sorry, kids. We don't go to church anymore. We go to Sinners. That's the rule. That's the goal now. What are we doing? What's going on?
Oh, okay. All right, so you didn't like Sinners. You didn't like Sinners. What about Hamnet?
Oh, Hamnet. Because we're not allowed to say Hamlet anymore.
No. No.
They took the L and gave it to the GBTQ.
No.
So it's Hamnet now. What are we doing? What's going on?
Meanwhile, we have a beef. Yeah, did you catch on? I just did the Conan. Yeah, see, that's why I illustrated that yesterday. Yeah, we have a beef. Did you catch the send-up of The Pit they did on SNL? Hospital? Well, some people said The Daily Show did that already. Back on November 21st, The Daily Show aired a promo for RFK Hospital, a fast-paced medical drama about the only hospital brave enough to follow the advice of the Medical Health Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. In that sketch, a doctor played by Michael Costa knows that medical science doesn't have to be based on anything in particular. And in that sketch, the staff prescribes treatments such as raw milk, fecal matter baths, and defluoridated water. In that sketch, Costa's character reacts to news of a school bus full of children hitting a deer by saying, "We can still save that deer meat." Now, the SNL version closes with RFK Jr., played by James Austin Johnson, rushing a dead bear into the ER, hoping to salvage its meat. Michael Costa went on Instagram, and Johnny Mac loves a good beef. He posted, "Watch the original that we released 6 months ago." He further commented, "Ridiculous." We are also reminded that on January 14th, Jimmy Kimmel Live aired a sketch called Make America Healthy Again, in which Noah Wiley presented himself as not a real doctor who gave some medical advice inspired by RFK Jr. Mark Norman's special is out on Netflix, and, there were Knicks and USA Baseball last night. I kind of wish Netflix would stop putting the comedy specials out on Tuesday. You would think Tuesday would be like a good night to just kick back and watch a comedy special, and it never is. Maybe it's just because I live on Old Man Mountain. Can you just put these things out on, Friday? Mark Norman was on Fox News, and he said what bothers him about comedy today is the presence of any finger-wagging in comedy. He said, imagine if a musician just came up, put his guitar down, and was like, "Let me tell you about Iran and Israel." And you're like, well, what about the music? Stand-up comedy is the only art form that's so subjective that you can kind of slip away from the comedy part because you're holding a microphone and have a stool with a beer on it. Mark says, comedy has become weirdly morality-based. When I was a kid, you watched Blazing Saddles or Eddie Murphy or whatever, and it was just like the worst things are what you should lean in on. He does not believe in shock for its own sake, and explains, I think some people do that horribly, and they just say a word without having a joke. I think as long as there's always a joke, you can talk about anything. Everything's on the table, and I think making horrible things funny is part of the job. So I say lean in, but it's got to be funny. That's the key. It's got to have a laugh, and that's the art form, making it funny and getting away with it. I'll pick at that a little bit more tomorrow. Meanwhile, Ready, Steady, Cut gave Mark's special 3.5 out of 5, presumably stars. They rate, Mark Norman's style has never really evolved, which is kind of the point. None Too Pleased plays out like an all-you-can-eat buffet of zingers designed to be equally offensive to everyone, just as it should be. Norman isn't quite a one-liner comic, but he's close. Each argument usually highlighting some kind of inherent hypocrisy or drawing an out-there comparison. Examples being an anatomical analogy for the Israel-Palestine conflict, or OnlyFans being for men what the WNBA is for women, or how being married is like being in the military, and using that as an excuse to slip in an off-color gag about classic taboo topics like Hitler or 9/11. They write the reason this works so well for Norman are varied, but the biggest one is that he's good at it. The punchlines are often cleverly put together and snuck in when you least expect them, and some of the core contradictions he highlights are just astute enough to become interesting jumping off points. Cats are like heroin addicts. A couple spoilers in there that I will skip, but they conclude with most people can laugh not just at others, but also at themselves. Bert Kreischer is going to milk this bus story. Again, I'm glad everyone's okay, but whoever roasted him yesterday, now Bert has 2 stories. Kreischer was on social media again, said, all right, here's everything you need to know about the bus. Both bus drivers said they'd never seen anything like it in their 35 years. We waited for a couple hours, and then we ditched the bus and got on the crew buses and drove into Cedar Rapids. That morning, our bus caught fire on the road. Everyone was fine. The bus driver, Dewey, he got out in time. He said literally the fire started, and in 15 seconds, the front cabin was in flames. Here's the good thing to know. Had we slept on that bus, we would have all been trapped in the back and be dead today. Yesterday, we would have been dead yesterday. God works in mysterious ways. So it was a blessing that we had a blowout. It was a blessing. So today, as frustrated as you may get, realize everything is a blessing. God works in mysterious ways. The bus story pairs up with Netflix announcing that Free Bert got a season 2 renewal. Bert will also be part of the Netflix is a Joke Comedy Festival. Kresicher, Segura, and Jelly Roll will do the 2 Bears 5K at the Rose Bowl on May 9th. At the festival, Bert is hosting Bert and Shaq's Crowdwork show at the Comedy Store May 8th. I promised I would bring up this comment left in the Facebook group. Lee shot a nice note. He pointed out nicely, very nicely, that the fish that Steve Harvey was going after, even though it is spelled like you would pronounce it crappy, it's actually pronounced crappie, and tells me it's a popular menu item for recreational fishermen. Thank you, Lee. I used to fish for snapper off Jones Beach over by the Coast Guard station when I was probably like 10 years old. We just used worms. No, we didn't use worms. We would go get bait fish, little bait fish. I don't know what they're called. Perhaps they're called crappie? I don't know. These little bait fish we used to get. They come in like a frozen pack. All the fishermen are like, yeah, city boy, we know. You sound like an idiot. And I do sound like an idiot. So let's move on. Johnny Mac, you never talk about Conan O'Brien or the Oscars. And I know I really should bring it up more often. People were curious. Hey, Conan, I thought you said Trump's not funny. What was with the political jokes? Conan told Variety after the show, you have to use your common sense about what feels right. If you completely ignore it, you look like you're living in a bubble, and I wouldn't want to do that. You got to reflect on what people at home are thinking about. But also, they want to be entertained, so you need to thread it. I always hope to try and do that. Robbie Hoffman was at Vanity Fair's Oscar party. So in case you thought I was really digging in on Nikki Glaser yesterday, Robbie Hoffman, Hollywood insider. I know Robbie Hoffman. You might look at Robbie Hoffman and be like, that's not an insider. Oh, that's an insider. Robbie Hoffman's special produced by John Mulaney, and Robbie Hoffman's at the Vanity Fair Oscar party. Were you at the Vanity Fair Oscar party? No, because you're not a Hollywood insider. The entertainment industry is very, very insular if you pay attention. Anyway, we are told that Robbie Hoffman went on Instagram stories to share that she had found a diamond watch on the floor of the Vanity Fair's annual Oscars after party, which took place at the L.A. County Museum of Art. Now, let me ask you, listener, do you have a diamond watch? Did you lose it at Vanity Fair's annual Oscars after party? No and no. Robbie Hoffman was there, and she posted an image of the watch and wrote, let it be known that I found a diamond watch on the floor of the Vanity Fair party. The watch appeared to be broken in pieces. Hoffman then followed up with another slide showing a security guard holding the watch. And she pointed out, obviously, I returned it to the LACMA security. A third post showed an iPhone with a note typed out reading, Robbie Hoffman found your watch, and a blurred out phone number. Robbie wrote, expect reward. We are told the thin, delicate watch appears to be from, I'm going to butcher this because I'm a kid from Queens who can't even get the name of a fish right. Boucheron's Vendome Lisseray collection. You nailed it, John. Keep going. All right. Well, we are told via the watch brand's website, watches run from $12,150 to $36,900. I mentioned Riz Ahmed at the beginning, and I said I would mention him later. It is now later. Amazon, what are you doing? All right. Amazon has made a quote-unquote James Bond series. Now, why don't you guys just make James Bond? Here's what James Bond is. He's a good-looking British man. He walks in the office. He flirts with Moneypenny. He goes in. M kind of yells at him for a little bit. He goes over to Q's office, grabs some gadgets, has a cool car, meets a chick. There's a guy who's trying to kill him, usually as a gimmick. Then he meets another chick. Then he defeats the bad guy. That's James Bond. Anyway, they are making a show called Bait. Why they would make Bait and not James Bond, you'd have to ask them. Bait was written by, created by, and stars Riz Ahmed as Shah, a struggling actor about to give up when he's invited to audition for the role of James Bond. The 6 episodes follow Shaw over 4 days as he and his family and his best friend learn what it means to be an instant star. Shaw learns firsthand that while being considered for one of the biggest movie roles of all time makes him the center of attention, it also brings a lot of backlash. Here's an idea. Let's just make James Bond. And that is your comedy news for today. I'll see you tomorrow.